Welcome back to the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast. I'm Shannon Baker, a coffee-loving mompreneur that started as a virtual assistant and turned into a total systems geek. And I want to help you shift your mindset and embrace your worthiness while creating systems in your business so you can be more productive and build success on your own terms without the mom guilt. Are you loving that? Well, I hope you're ready for real conversations that will help you beat the perfectionist inside, rediscover your strengths, and up-level your self-love in the mom cracks of time so you can stop letting fear hold you back because you are enough and you do enough. We are more than capable mompreneurs. So grab your cup of coffee, some sparkling water, or pour a glass of your favorite wine and let's dive in.
Have you ever taken a personality quiz like Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, or DISC? These tests really help us get to know more about ourselves, right? I know I've taken a few and the answers that I got were spot on about me. But not only are our quizzes intuitive, they're a great lead magnet that you can use to get to know more about your target audience. So you can then nurture that relationship based on their personality, which will make it easier for them to decide if they want to work with you directly or purchase your digital products. But the question is, how do you even create a good quiz that's going to get you better results, meaning you earn some money? Well, that's what I'm going to be chatting with Linda Sidhu about today. Linda had extensive training in different personality types while she was a pharmaceutical sales rep in the dermatology industry selling acne products. But now she is the quiz queen who uses the DISC personality quiz framework to help her clients craft personalized marketing with a 70% conversion rate. During our chat, Linda's going to share some common mistakes that you want to avoid if you want to start using a quiz lead magnet. She shares some tips to help you get better results, even if you're not a sales expert. And she shares some of the benefits that you can experience with email marketing by using quizzes. So I hope you're ready to learn more about quizzes as we dive into episode number 83. So thank you for joining us for this week's episode. It's going to be a wonderful conversation, no different than usual, of course, but today's guest, I've been excited for this chat. It is Linda Sidhu, who helps business owners attract hundreds of subscribers on autopilot with a different type of lead magnet, personality quizzes. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Linda. And Linda, tell us just a little bit about your background, how you got into this, and we'll get going with that.
Hey, Shannon, thank you so much for having me here today. And I'm really excited to talk to you about quizzes because who doesn't want to know more about themselves when they take a personality quiz? Am I right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've taken DISC, Enneagram, human design, like you name it, everything but Myers-Briggs for some reason. But yeah. And then the funny thing is how I got started in quizzes was because I used to be a pharmaceutical sales representative and I worked in the dermatology industry. And at the time, it was a very small company, but they invested in their sales force and taught, they basically had the DISC company come in and teach us how to understand our doctors' personalities. So we spent a whole week in training, got DISC certified, and that allowed me to use my personality. I'm very nurturing and respectful, and I really care about people's relationships. So I actually took everything to heart, everything I learned. And when I went back into the field to essentially sell my acne products to these doctors, I really relied on the DISC format. And the reason why is because a lot of these doctors are way smarter than me. Some of them actually did clinical trials for my products, and they were already using products in their office that was similar to mine. So it wasn't like a mind-blowing new product that came out. It was an acne product. And so what I would do is I would understand their personalities and show up in a way that made them more comfortable with me. And I built the relationship that way. And lo and behold, it was one of the best things I ever did because it allowed me to be the top 10 in my industry for multiple years. But it also came into handy when I created my own personality quiz for my business.
Awesome. That's like amazing. You're the second person I know who used to be a pharmaceutical rep or in that industry. So that's interesting. So let's dive right into this topic because quizzes for lead magnets are becoming more popular, but all of us don't necessarily understand the entire process because let's face it, we're used to the same type of lead magnet, a worksheet or a mini training, like things like that to grow our lists. Because we all know you need to grab that person's information via getting them to subscribe to the email list in order for you to nurture that relationship so that they will possibly, hopefully, convert to a paying client. But I'm finding of the quizzes that I've taken, they're just so intuitive that it's just mind blowing. So it obviously definitely works. We just may not understand all the logistics behind it. But what would you say makes a difference when it comes to knowing your ICA's personality type? How do the quizzes help make this process easier?
So quizzes, first and foremost, it's a low way to enter into your community. What I mean by that is people look at a quiz, and if it's a personality quiz, they typically like to take those, but it's also fun. Mm-hmm. It's engaging. And, with everything we've learned on social media, we realize that people are here for entertainment purposes, not necessarily to learn all the time, right? And I think with PDFs, guides, ebooks, and all that stuff is great opportunities to give value to your audience, but it's not necessarily fun. You're actually making them sit down one afternoon and crank something out. And people just don't have the time anymore. And so it's easy for them to take a quiz and learn something more about themselves, have fun doing it. But in exchange, what you're doing with the new leads as a business owner, especially if you do it with personality based, is first of all, you're welcoming your new lead in and giving them a very warm welcome because you're really stroking their ego, making them feel seen and heard, because every personality type has amazing strengths. And that's what you want to focus on. You're like, hey, Shannon, you're amazing because you're very systematical and you have a logical approach and you're very thoughtful. And when you can share those things, you feel seen and heard as you're entering the community. Mm-hmm. But what it's doing for the business owner is it's also helping them understand your buying decisions. And, I was telling you this before we started recording the podcast, but I think when it comes to selling to people, I don't view it as like selling or anything sleazy or slimy. I think most entrepreneurs really care about their audience and their community, and they're willing to do everything they possibly can to help them achieve success when they buy from them. So with that said, if you can show up understanding somebody's personality on a discovery call, for instance, you can make them feel more comfortable with you. So for example, when I was in pharmaceutical sales, when I would go into these offices and I knew the doctor was very dominant and I could not tell him what to do, he was going to call the shots. What I wanted to do is be efficient with his time to respect him. I wanted to get to the results and hit the bottom line quickly. And I also wanted to give him options based on what he was already doing and have him decide on how he would use my products. So what did that look like in real life? I would say, hey, Dr. Cattell, good to see you today. I just wanted to show you this study and here's the efficacy on this certain product. How are you currently using this acne product in your office? And maybe the doctor would say, well, I'm using it for teenage boys or adult females. And I'd say, great. Do you think for the next, female patient that comes in, you can try my product? He essentially told me what he would use the product on. And I closed it by asking for the business in that aspect. And it was seamless. It didn't feel weird. The doctors appreciate that because they know you're there for a reason, right? So it goes back to your clients. If they're interested in your product and you are able to communicate in a way that's going to make them feel comfortable based on their personality. Now, the exact opposite personality, somebody who's very heart-centered, someone who's very thoughtful and relationship-oriented, those people are not going to buy for you for several years, sometimes 1 to 3 years. So it's a different approach you would treat that doctor or that customer, correct? So in the pharmaceutical industry, I would do lunches with those physicians. I would build the relationship. I would gain their trust and not ask them to do too much too quickly. I would also invite them to speaker programs so they could hear some of the dominant doctors who are having success with my products, and they could then hear those success stories and then eventually try it on their patients, right? So it's just a different approach. At the end of the day, you know your product or your service will do exactly what you're trying to say. It just depends on, when they're going to take the chance to try it out.
Okay. That it is interesting, and it is sounds complicated, but we know we shift to cater to people based on the personalities that we know. But like you said, if we can kind of cut down the discovery phase by using a quiz like you help business owners with, then it would be totally great, because it would save us time and would increase the probability of, like you say, either nurturing someone to the point where they buy in the future, or more importantly, approaching it to know when to ask for the sale the right way and at the right time. So knowing that it takes this kind of finessing approach to the sale, like, is a personality quiz right for all businesses, or do you find that it works more specifically with a certain type of business?
I think most of my clients end up being coaches and course creators. However, Interact, the quiz platform, has a plethora of case studies on their website. And one of them in particular was Primarily Pure. Do you know that company? It's a product-based company, and I think they sell clean products. And they had a quiz that was like, what's deodorant is right for you? And I believe that they generated over $30,000 with that quiz by selling just a deodorant. So the person would take the quiz. I actually took the quiz, and it said my product for my personal deodorant product of choice was lemongrass. But the funny thing is, I did not buy the lemongrass one. I bought like a mint one, but I did try it out. It was really interesting, but it was very quick. There was not a lot of nurturing. There was no welcome series or anything like that, but it was a very low ticket item. I think it was like $10, right? So there are a lot of quizzes out there that could cater to the e-commerce. I don't specialize in those, but that's an example of a really good e-commerce quiz. I think Z Gallery did quizzes at the beginning for market research, and they learned a lot of information from the market research and the questions they were asking people, that they were able to use that information moving forward to have success with their business. So you can use it as market research. And then course creators and coaches, those people are great candidates for personality quizzes. And what it does is it allows you a fun way, to ask people to join your email list. It helps you nurture them, but it segments your list based on the personalities. And then what you could do with that information, what I was trying to get to before, is then you can personalize your marketing to your clients. Now, I'm not saying that you have to write 4 different emails in 4 different ways. However, when you are to the point where you're talking one-on-one, someone with a discovery call, that information is very useful, because you would know how to set things up. Or if someone's super dominant, they don't want to know all the details. You know what I mean? They're already interested. They want to know the options. And if you can be considerate and approach it that way, they'll appreciate you much more. But if they're somebody who's, again, like the heart-centered, maybe a 20-minute discovery call isn't enough for them. Maybe you actually need to do 45 minutes to an hour. You need to gain their trust, ask them more about their business, let them have more of an opportunity to understand who you are and how you can help them, right?
Okay. It definitely makes sense. So now we decide we want to take the leap and kind of move to more of a quiz-based lead magnet, opposed to the standard sit down, complete this worksheet kind of thing. What are some common mistakes that you've seen entrepreneurs make when they decide to implement a quiz as their lead magnet?
Okay, this is a great question. So some of the mistakes I see is people start the quiz off wrong. So they start writing the questions first, but really you need to write the results first. So you want to know, kind of like your offer, you want to work backwards from your offer. So you want to work backwards from each result. So I would technically write each result for the D, the I, the S, and the C. And I would have all 4 results written before I actually start asking questions. Because then the questions determine, I'm working on a sales quiz right now, for example. And I was trying to think, what are good questions for, sales? And it's like, maybe asking them what kind of sales strengths do they have? What are 3 words that would best describe them? And then I would do each, 3 words for each personality. And so you work backwards from result, then the questions. The other thing that I've seen is when people don't have a welcome series attached to it. And this is so sad, but I think only 50% of businesses have a welcome series. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to do this because, when someone's taking a quiz, first and foremost, they want their results. So this is important because when someone gives you your name and their email address, they're expecting an email back from you with the results. So they go straight to your email, which is huge for you because when somebody clicks on your email, they're saying, hey, I like this person. I want to talk to them. I want to communicate with them. So they're letting their email provider know that let more of these emails come through first and foremost. Then it builds your know, like, and trust factor. And then that way people aren't just getting dumped into a weekly newsletter where they're like, who the heck is this person? They might have actually forgot that they took your quiz, and without a proper introduction, they're going to unsubscribe from your email list. And you don't want that. You want to make sure they know who you are, that you want to make sure you validate them, to make them feel seen and heard, and give them an example of where maybe you messed up your first quiz, or, like a validating whatever your biggest struggling pain point is for your audience. Like, at least acknowledge that you've been there. You want to introduce yourself, give yourself credibility so that they continue to follow you. You also want to offer valuable tips. Maybe you could share a podcast interview that you loved, give them additional value, and then they'll say, hey, this Linda girl's really showing up. She's giving me all this great value. I got this great quiz. I learned about myself. She shared a podcast interview, and you just really kind of warm them up and prime them to be ready to buy from you, right? And again, buying's not bad. Selling's not bad. When it comes to your email list, you actually want a list full of people who are going to buy from you. You don't want people on there that aren't supposed to be there. So you want those people to be repelled. And so this is with the welcome series, I actually get a little aggressive with mine. Typically, I send it out 5 days in a row. So if you took my quiz on Monday, you would get an email from me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing there is for the people who are really interested in my product, I'm giving them loads of information, a ton of value before I ever try to sell to them, right? But for the people who are like, this is annoying, I don't want to hear about this, I'm basically encouraging them to get off the list. Because again, you want a healthy list that's looking at your emails, that's replying to your emails, that's interested in your products, and you want a list of buyers.
That is true. And it's one thing I look at, like you mentioned, as I send out my regular broadcasts and I get those unsubscribes. They used to rattle me, but now to me, I use it as insight because I see the unsubscribe when the email goes out, and then I look at the history of whether or not they've actually read my previous messages, how long they've been on the list, whether or not I've gotten any replies from them, have they clicked through to anything. And then I see they don't. And I'm like, well, fine. Thank you for doing me a favor and getting off my list because you weren't my people anyway. So yeah, it does make a big difference. So with this, in my head as a logical thinking person, all I could think of is what type of technology do we need to bring together to make this whole thing work? Other than, of course, an email platform that you want to use to deliver the welcome series.
What kind of technologies? So you want to write your quiz, and so you need to do some research to start off with. If you don't know yourself well enough, it's really important to ask yourself, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? What's your big idea? What's your offer? So you need to do some fact finding on yourself to get really, really clear before you start working on a quiz that's going to be on automation and doing a ton of work for you in the long run. Next step, you want to do some ideal client research on your audience. Ask them questions. 3 of my favorite questions I like to ask my audience is, what are you struggling with when it comes to my area of expertise? What's holding you back from working with me? And how would you feel if you actually had a quiz that generated over 500 leads in the first 7 days it came out? And so when I get the answers to these questions, I can get really good insight on what they're interested in, what are they struggling with, and maybe tweak my offer, maybe not offer what I thought I was going to in the first place, right? So everything's based on my audience and what they want. So now that I know that I'm on target and my idea matches with their needs, then you can move forward to start creating a quiz. And you want to match it up with your offer. So you want to work backwards from your offer. And my new quiz that I worked on recently is lining up to my group coaching quiz program. So I worked backwards from that offer, and then I created the results pages, created the questions, and then you use Interact. I personally love Interact. Interact is a quiz platform, fairly easy to use, and that's where you build the quiz. Now, believe it or not, I'm learning to share some vulnerabilities about myself, but I'm not a copywriter and I'm not very great with technology. So with my clients and myself, I actually have an award-winning copywriter that I work with that looks over my work. I'm a personality expert. So I can do the psychology. I can help you set up everything in segmentation so you can better understand your clients, and then, walk you through how to promote your quiz based on your strengths, and then also how to show up and sell to those people who are attracted to your offers, right? But I do have a copywriter I work with that looks over everything, and she enhances it to make it more fun. And then we hand everything over to a virtual assistant who then builds all the landing pages and then puts the welcome series together. And so all that technology is done there. And I personally would be held back if I felt like I had to do everything. So I want to give people permission that if it's not in your zone of genius, it's okay to hire out. And matter of fact, it might help you move faster. So that's really, then it all kind of comes together, and then you have a link ready to go. And I was just telling you, sometimes it feels like it never ends because I'm almost done working on my quiz. And then it's like, okay, now I have to do the landing page for that final offer where I'm going to offer my 3-day challenge to nail your quiz idea, right? So then you've got that landing page you have to do. But, once you do it, it can last for such a long time. And then you've also developed a system where you can use it as a tool for your business. So it's not just a quiz to generate leads. Ideally, a good quiz is going to help your clients. For example, I created a quiz for a TEDx speaking coach, and it was a personality quiz. Yes, it generated leads for her, but what it also did is it helped them identify their strengths and weaknesses as a speaker. So when they eventually did their TED Talk, they went out there and they leaned into their strengths, and they weren't like, you didn't have a Brené Brown trying to be Tony Robbins, right? You had Brené Brown, being brilliant of who she is, right? And same goes for Rachel Hollis and Tony Robbins. Like, they're going to have their own personality where they're jumping up and down and really excited. But you lean into your strengths, So hopefully that answered the question. I know I got a little off on a tangent, but I can do that with personality stuff because I think it's incredible. And I think it's such an easy way to learn your audience, learn about yourself, and marry everything that you have to better serve your audience in the end.
No, that's good. So we got that process of how to get ready for the quiz, and then you mentioned the technology, which is Interact. So of course, my first question, or the question I have in my head, is what platforms does Interact integrate with? Because just about everybody already has an existing email platform.
I wouldn't really worry about that. I think they pretty much integrate with everybody. You might have to use Zapier, however you want to say it. But they've pretty much done all that. You can build the quiz on Interact and then figure out that existing piece. it's available. I haven't come across where there's one where you just can't do it. Put it that way.
So it works with the majors,
Correct.
ConvertKit, Miller Lite, Active
AWeber,
Campaign,
Active
AWeber.
Campaign, yeah,
Okay.
all of them. Like
And that's just about what just about everybody uses. There's some others in between, but I'm a big Zapier user anyway, so if it doesn't integrate directly, we can find a way around that.
exactly.
But no, this is great to help everyone get started thinking about, especially as this episode airs, we're focusing on talking about sales. It's a great time right now to think about what's on, what are you going to do to present your business differently moving forward into the new year to improve the results that you got, this year, the time that this episode airs. So I have one other bonus question for you before we wrap up our conversation today, though. So I know you aren't necessarily a systems type of person like me, but either in your business or personal life, is there a system, something you do routinely that you can't live without?
Yeah, so I love this question because it's your audience is going to love this too. So in my quiz, the welcome series, I have a survey in the PS of one of my emails. And it's in one of the first emails where, because people are coming in hot when they take your quiz, they're excited, they want to learn more. So I believe it was on email 2, or yeah, I think it's email 2. In the PS, I've added a survey. And what I do is I tell people, like, take this 2-minute survey. So help me understand to be a better entrepreneur and show up in a way that can serve you better. But I also offer a 30-minute strategy session every single month. And the chances are a lot of people aren't going to take the time to do the survey, but you have a high chance. And honestly, I started doing this about a year ago, and I have over 100 people that's taken the survey today. And what I do with this information, so it's all on automation, right? New people coming in who are excited to learn about quizzes, they're filling out this questionnaire. What does it help me with? It helps me with my email writing. It helps me with my sales pages. It helps me figure out what new offers I want to create. It helps me. So it is basically a survey that's on automation that I don't have to ask people to take or go to Facebook. And it's giving me a wealth of information to better understand my clients. So I know that I'm always serving them and showing up in a way where they want to do business with me, where I can shine the light on my strengths and my expertise and help them maybe with something that they're having a hard time to put together themselves. Or we come together and we do it together or whatnot, right? But that is my tip. I think everybody in their welcome series should have a automated survey so they can reflect back on when they need it, when they're developing different offers and different things, and take a look and see what people are saying to them.
Yeah, it's built-in market research. You say you don't have to put that extra ask out there. It's already, you've got a multi-purpose email. That is awesome. So now the freebie everyone wants to make sure they grab from Linda is Discover Your Quiz to Cash Strategy, because you need a strategy so this works. Don't just throw a quiz out there to start collecting a bunch of names or you're going to lose people. So if you want to do it right, make sure you start with getting that freebie from Linda. And then that freebie also is like the prelude to a new offer from Linda. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, thank you. So the quiz to cash strategy is how to align your personality based on your personality strengths. So yes, you want to do a quiz, but from there, what do you do with your launch and how do you have a successful launch? So I'm really excited about the quiz. And then I've created a free 3-day challenge that's going to be coming out soon. And it's to nail your quiz idea. And how I decided to do this was because the number one thing people were telling me was, I don't have an idea for my quiz. I don't know. I don't have a topic. So I used the number one thing that people are struggling with, and I'm going to help them break through that barrier so that they can feel good and confident to create their own quiz. And then I'm doing this mainly because I've had a lot of feedback of, wanting more support with quizzes. Because yes, obviously we've uncovered that there's a lot of moving parts with quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but even with copywriting, people aren't confident in their writing. So this fall, I'm launching my very first group coaching program where I'm going to help you write a quiz from start to finish. And then we even have a copywriter on board that's going to help you with your copy, look it over, do some edits so you feel really confident in your work. And then I'm even bringing in my virtual assistant who's going to give tutorials on how to set it up. So it's the first time you can work with me in a group coaching setting. And there is limited spots, mainly because I want to deliver on my course promise. I want 80 to 90% of the people to come out of that with a quiz. And I can't do that for hundreds of people. I can only do it with like a handful of people where we just go in, they're there for intentionally, and we're there intentionally to help them. And I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So this will line up perfectly if you have something to launch in the new year.
Awesome. So now, Linda, where can everyone connect with you online? I mean, the links are going to be in the show notes, especially to the freebie as well, but where can they find you online?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on Facebook in my Facebook group, which is Quiz Creators. So if you search Quiz Creators, I show up there. I do case studies. I have lives where I interview different entrepreneurs, sort of like a podcast, but not a podcast. But where, yeah, I'm there to help. I love a good community. And I think moving forward, marketing is going to be more personalized. And I also think it's going to be about building trust, just like it was back then when I was doing the pharmaceutical stuff. Like it was all about building trust and just, showing up in ways that can best support other people. And so, yeah, Quiz Creators Facebook group, check it out.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for whetting our appetite for using quizzes. So we have enjoyed this chat and look forward to grabbing that freebie so we can create that strategy and improve our results with our marketing and with our sales.
Thank you, Shannon. It was a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to everything that's to come in both of our business.
Well, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. I hope you are at least considering getting away from the boring PDFs and are ready to consider using a quiz lead magnet. I am really excited about Linda's free 3-day Nail Your Quiz Challenge, which begins October the 12th. There's a link for you to sign up in the show notes, and make sure you connect with Linda on Instagram. A link to her profile there is in the show notes as well. So I want to thank you again for tuning in for this week's episode. If you loved what we chatted about, please let me know. Take a screenshot, post it in Instagram stories, and tag me at _Shannon Baker. So that's it for this week's episode, and I really hope you think about using a quiz as part of your marketing strategy, at least in 2022, to improve your results. So that's all I have for you this week. Remember, you are more than enough. And until next time, keep calm and streamline.